So I know you probably have already elaborated on this a little bit, but why would you say a bride and groom, do you think they need a wedding planner, or why would you recommend one?
The short answer is yes. And of course, it's not in everybody's budget, which we totally understand that. If they can at least designate someone who can be the go-to person on the day of their wedding, banquet captain, the photographer, the DJ can all direct questions to this one person, then yes, highly suggest it. Now, some venues do require a day of coordinator at least, and so that just truly helps make the day go smooth. Any hiccups that might come up, I mean, there's someone else that is taking over and not the bride and groom having to make those decisions.
Welcome to the Realty FC podcast, where we educate and give different perspectives on local real estate trends from business owners, professionals, and others as we navigate the ever-changing world of real estate. I'm your host, Chris, joined by my co-host, Michelle, as we dive into the twists and turns of the complex real estate world. Right, Michelle?
That's right.
All right. Hey, look, where do you like to shop?
Where do I like to shop?
Yeah, what's your favorite store?
Honestly,
Like for clothes. Like if you were to, let's keep away from the ABC store. Okay, let's talk about clothing.
All right. Well, for clothing, I like to go to Macy's. I like Kohl's.
Okay. Kohl's always have sales.
I love Cato's. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
I have
but,
not. What is Cato's?
It's a women's clothing store.
That might be why I've never heard of it.
Yeah. Love that place.
Okay.
Yeah, and I do a lot online.
Okay.
Yeah.
Clothing. I'm not much of a shopper. My wife buys all my clothes for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I mean, we get gift cards to Nordstrom Rack. We try to find sales from Nordstrom Rack to get from there. Maybe even stuff from Old Navy. Maybe Kohl's from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
But where we also like to shop is Costco. Costco has some pretty cool stuff, from even clothes.
They do from time to time, yeah.
Yeah, so we just dropped a lot of plugs for a lot of those companies.
Yeah, I found a lot of things for my grandson in Costco before.
Yeah.
So.
Now, another question to add on to that, would you say you like to shop online or you like to go in to the actual store?
Well, I prefer shopping online because it's just easier, but I'm one of these people also that have to try things on. So sometimes going
Fair
into
enough.
the store, depending on what I'm buying, works better. But,
Yeah. No, that's totally understandable. Yeah, because there's nothing worse than having, getting something delivered to you, it doesn't fit, and now you got to deal with returning it.
Send it back. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know all about that. So another change gears a little bit. Where would you say, where did you get married? Did you get married in like a scenic area, or did you get married like in the city?
I actually, when I got married many, many, many years ago, I got married at the chapel at Davis and Elkins College in Elkins, West Virginia.
Okay, well, I don't know, but is that kind of big city? Doesn't sound like it would be.
Oh, no. Elkins is a small town I grew up in.
Okay.
I would
So
say,
that's why you picked it.
I didn't have like a big glamorous wedding. And a lot of people, there was rumor that it was maybe a shotgun wedding because...
Okay, we don't have to get into
but
details.
It wasn't. I know, right? But no, my late husband, he was military.
Okay.
And so we got married and had a very small reception.
Mm-hmm.
And we got in the car and we started heading for Texas. We spent our honeymoon on the road driving to Texas because he was on leave when he come home for us to get married.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, so it was interesting.
Well, I got married in Fairfax, Virginia. Real big hotel where we had everything was kind of all in one spot. We had the ceremony and the reception all in the same spot, which was kind of nice. And then after the ceremony, I was able to crash in our hotel room.
Okay.
It's pretty cool. Okay. Well, those two questions are important because our next guest is a special guest. She can elaborate on both of those things, shopping and the wedding perspectives. So let's go ahead and let's bring her on.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, welcome to the show. We have Nicole Hild on our show today, and she's a special guest for me because you're my wife.
Yes, I am your wife.
This is the one where I have to say I am the most excited about this show.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Your favorite guest of all, right?
I had to get that on record. You can't
Yes.
take that away from me.
Wife of what, 10 and a half years now?
That's what they say.
That,
That's what they say.
Yes, that's what's on our certificate.
So, all right, Nicole, let's tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, where are you from?
Yeah.
What brought you out here?
Okay.
And what do you do for work? Some of your hobbies. Let's talk about some of those things. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I grew up in Fairfax County, Virginia. Lived there all my life until I moved out here, which was right after we got married. My background has always been event planning. I started event planning probably when I started interning when I was about 18 years old. That's kind of when I found that there was even a job that you could do, plan weddings and plan events.
Yeah, because you went to, it's an interesting fact about her is, tell us where you went to college.
Yeah, so I went to college in Toronto, Canada, kind of a ways away, little bit. And so I went there and my major was event planning and hospitality tourism. So it was such a fun experience going to school in Toronto, learning different cultures and how to incorporate that into event planning and travel and all that. Best experience, one of the best experiences, I think that I've, one of the best. So I went to school for that, and every summer that I was home, I found an event planning company to intern for, mostly in DC because my drive was to be more of a city, to be in the city market. For event planning.
Pulled you out here.
Yes, which is great because I love it out here. I don't want to be anywhere else. But, in my younger years, the city life was very appealing. And so we worked weddings all over the DC, Maryland, Virginia area in my intern years. And when I was graduating college in 2010, my sister had just gotten married and she had me plan her wedding. And with my school experience and my intern experience, it kind of fit and made sense. And it was the best time planning her wedding. So let's see, the year after her wedding in 2010, we decided hey, let's partner up and let's start our own company. She had some event planning experience. And I think combined with mine, it just grew. So from 2010, we started our event planning company called Sweetface Events. And gosh, it's been 14 years that we've been open and still planning weddings through pandemics and, just all these crazy times.
So I need to interrupt real quick because, marrying a wedding planner or event planner, when you talk about birthdays, or honestly, just any event at our house, it's a whole buildup. I've never done so many. Well, I've never done any until now, but I've never done so many balloon arches.
Oh my gosh, he's a professional now. He's a
Michelle?
professional.
Oh, that's awesome.
It
Yeah.
is. It's kind of like that's her MO, or what would you call that? Like that's you got to have a balloon arch at every event. That she
I
has.
know her birthdays, the themes. I see the pictures on
and the
Facebook,
themes,
and they look so fun.
It's not just presents and cake anymore.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's and plus all the kids that you invite, they all get little goodie bags too.
Yeah.
I didn't have that growing up.
No.
Yep.
No.
I know. So it's a blessing and a curse because, my personality is I want to go all out for my kids' birthdays, my husband's birthday. We're already talking about his birthday this year.
Too many at this point.
So, I think it's just fun for me. And I'm almost disappointed when we don't get to do it, which
The kids,
pretty rare.
I mean, it is. It's really good. The kids absolutely love it.
Oh,
and
they
it's,
love it.
It's very memorable, and they can look back and say, "Oh, my theme last year was this."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. All right, so wedding planning. Let's dive in. We'll leave the other aspect of what you do because you also run a boutique,
I
right?
do,
You're an owner of
yeah.
a boutique, an online boutique. We'll talk about wedding planning first. Now, you mentioned it started in 2010,
Yeah.
which is quite a bit a ways back. But talk about I mean, how do you start? If someone was interested in starting a wedding event planning, which we don't want any competition, but how would someone think about starting something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually gotten this question quite a bit. I've been messaged by several of my classmates from when we were in college, you know, like, how did you do it? How did you start? And honestly, it's all I did was Google it, but you know, I just had to figure it out. But I would probably say the first steps is to just try to figure out what your company, what your brand, what your the details of what you want to do.
Like what events you might want to focus on. Do you want to do corporate events?
Exactly.
Do you want to do wedding events?
Exactly. Baby showers, bridal showers. There's a market for everybody. So even though I'm supporting my friends who want to open their businesses, I never feel like there's competition because everybody, or not everybody, I should say, but you know, most people get married and have weddings and have baby showers and birthday parties, retirement parties, you know, you name it. And, you know, there's always a need for event planners.
Mm-hmm.
It does, just like real estate agents, you know, we help take some of the uncomfortness out of the transaction.
Right.
I would probably say an event coordinator can do a lot of that as well. Like a lot of the coordinating, you know, talking to different vendors, you know, setting things up on time, breaking them down on time, making sure, you know, they're doing what they need to do. And I can just focus on, you know, my kids or whoever or the bride and groom and just focus on them and making sure that they're happy and so forth. While in the background, the event planner is probably doing all the
running around, all the running around.
Yep.
Yeah.
You probably are very helpful with making the decisions as well, because I know a lot of times a bride really doesn't know what she wants. She knows what she wants, but really doesn't know.
Doesn't know how to execute, and that's kind of where we come in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We get their vision, and then we, you know, put a whole board together, and then we figure out how to make it happen.
And plus, if I'm not happy with something, I got one person to go to, and I can complain to that person rather than complaining all the different vendors.
That is my job. That is my job, and then I will, you know.
You'll then go to the vendor that we're working with.
Do you do all size events, like
we do.
Small intimate weddings and large?
Absolutely.
Parties?
We've had an elopement where it was the bride and groom, me and my assistant, and then the 3 kids, I think, of the groom. And we were just in like a small garden in Arlington, and it was beautiful. So yes, we go from there to 300 plus guest weddings.
Okay.
Yeah, very cool.
Do it all, yeah.
So I know you probably have already elaborated on this a little bit, but why would you say a bride and groom, do you think they need a wedding planner, or why would you recommend one?
So the short answer is yes. And of course, it's not in everybody's budget, which we totally understand that. If they can at least designate someone who can be the go-to person on the day of their wedding, so that the banquet captain, the photographer, the DJ can all direct questions to this one person, then yes, highly suggest it. Now, some venues do require a day of coordinator at least, and so that just truly helps make the day go smooth. And any hiccups that might come up, I mean, there's someone else that is taking over and not the bride and groom having to make those decisions. So,
so you talk about the cost. I mean, just like with real estate agents, I mean, we come at a cost. Obviously not a buyer's agent, but for a seller's perspective, we come at a cost. But there's also, you got to look at it from the other perspective. There could be a cost of not using one, right?
True.
You know, let's say a vendor just stumbles and doesn't do what they say they're going to do.
Yep.
And then, during your wedding, you're trying to deal with this vendor when you really should be appreciating, your day. Your day, right? So, I mean, that's the flip side. What's it worth to you? Do you want that opportunity or the chance of a vendor not or doing something wrong, or not showing up even, or getting the food wrong, or the DJ playing the wrong music. There's a lot of things that could be a cost of not having someone who's responsible for that.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
I mean, there's a balancing act, I think, to have there. Okay, so you mentioned day of. Are there other packages that you would offer to a bride and groom that, because there's probably really expensive, full-blown packages, and there's probably something that might be a little bit more affordable that a lot of folks might not understand.
Yeah, definitely. So the more affordable packages are usually our day of coordination packages, where we're really just there to, execute all the details, just set out the favors, the decorations, just kind of do the basic things for that day. Now we can go up to month of partial planning, full planning packages, and those entail more meetings, more one-on-one working with the bride and the vendors, which is really important because you're essentially the middleman with all the details for that day. So, I think our most popular package is the day of coordination, because then we at least can make sure that we're taking care of the bride and groom, that they can, even though they've been planning everything up until the day of, we can just take it off their shoulders so that they really can enjoy the day.
Yeah, because there's a timeline, right? There's a timeline that, all the vendors, I guess they all get a copy, but to implement the timeline and make sure it's followed, you don't want, as a groom or bride, you don't want to have that responsibility on your hands.
Absolutely not.
If you can just turn it over and give it to someone.
Yeah.
And I think, your prices, I don't know what they are, but I imagine you can make them pretty custom to each party, each event. So I would encourage, folks to reach out and start up a conversation, because you never know.
You never know,
It might be affordable and it might be worth it.
Yeah. And I mean, we do work with all budgets. We like to anyway. And every bride and groom is going to be different. No two weddings are ever going to be the same for us. So if this couple needs just a 5-hour package, we can custom tailor any package to suit their needs. And I always do suggest them reaching out, because you never know.
Yeah. Now, do you handle if somebody was going to do like a destination wedding?
Yes.
Do you handle
That's a great question.
making the arrangements for everything?
Absolutely. And we've had a few destination weddings. We have one coming up in Tennessee in August, which is, I'm so excited for that one, because the bride used to be an intern for us.
Oh, okay.
And so that one was really exciting. We had another one in St. Augustine, Florida last year. So we do all the coordinating for all that, even from Virginia, from our home office.
Okay.
Yeah, for anyone listening, if they're doing destination like in the Caribbean, just add me to that guest list. Yeah, I'd appreciate that.
You'll step in to be the coordinator the day of, right?
I'll do whatever you need.
He
me to
knows
do.
enough.
Yeah, I can be the guy that goes out and starts the dance party. I can even be that guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So all invitations are welcome. So how far in advance do you recommend couples reach out to you for coordinating?
Yes. So for a full planning package, definitely at least 1 year in advance. I mean, I would say if you're looking to hire a full service wedding planner, you're needing their help to even find your venue, maybe even pick a date, start from scratch. So I recommend at least a year, if not 18 months, because venues can get booked up, especially in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. There are a lot of wedding venues that, lots of people want to get married there. And so you have to get your name on the list pretty early.
Yeah. So speaking of venues, we had a client on here, Court Maddox, who recently purchased a Faithbrook wedding venue, which is also going to be turning into more than just a wedding venue. But you are now on their primary vendor list as a wedding planner. So
we do have a wedding there in a few months.
Oh,
so
nice.
A great collaboration there.
So, and I've heard from Court that places are booked up, I think October this year. They had 1 weekend left. I think it's gone.
Yeah.
So they're already looking. October is, I guess, is a big month.
It's very
for weddings. And so people are already booking, having to look for 2025 if they're looking for October.
Yeah.
So this is a real estate podcast, right? So we've talked a little bit about real estate, but let's, from an investment perspective, if someone is out there, because we've had Court that has invested and his group that have invested in a wedding venue. What would you say that from your clients that you've had in the past that they're looking for in a wedding venue? I mean, they're looking for, I just want to be, in a place where there's a lot that I can get to in close by, or are they looking for the views?
Right.
Kind of, maybe talk about what you've experienced.
Yeah. So location has been a really important factor in the decision-making process when it comes to couples finding their venue, especially being where we are. There are so many venues that have wonderful views. And so people they don't mind driving over an hour to Luray or to Bealton. We have a venue that we've worked with there, beautiful vineyard. We have all those options out here, which is great. So location is definitely probably one of the deciding factors. A drivable distance is great, especially if they're coming from the DC area. An hour and a half, and people will drive and you make a whole weekend of it.
Yeah. And I think it's great to point out that, you being from the city and also now living out here for a good amount of time, then you've got experience and knowledge of some of the venues out here, that if a bride is looking for a venue, you've got a pretty good range of venue options. You know what it's like in both areas.
Yes.
So,
absolutely.
especially if it's someone from the city being like, hey, I really want those views, but I don't know where to go.
Right.
Well, you have that knowledge
Exactly.
that, well, I know of a couple places that are drivable and that have beautiful views.
Yeah.
And then vice versa. I'm looking for something that, they all can stay, like where our wedding was, where it's everyone can stay in the same place. The wedding, the ceremony, all can be in the same place and call it a day.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have the experience and knowledge from both of those perspectives. That's good. I have to ask, any crazy stories you want to bring up from, let's be specific about weddings.
Okay.
Any crazy stories?
I have a few. Oh gosh, the one that I probably will never ever forget was, it was our early years of owning our business, and we were doing this hotel wedding. I think there were about 150, 175 guests at this wedding. So on the larger side, and everything was going so smooth. The ceremony had gone really well. It was like a beautiful day that day. So as we're doing the bridal party introductions, literally as they're naming the bridesmaids, groomsmen, naming the bride and groom coming in to do their first dance, one of the guest tables that had 12 people sitting at it completely falls. Glasses shatter, plates shatter.
Oh my goodness.
So we are in shock because it's like the moment where, the bride and groom are about to step out for the first time. And, we were like, okay, what do we do? So I like to think that I am good at quick thinking and handling those situations. And so what we ended up doing was, thankfully, the catering company, the banquet captain, had an extra, table linen, an extra set of plates for everybody. I think they were short glasses, if I remember correctly. But we made it work. The centerpiece was one of those very tall centerpieces. I mean, it was done. So we had to just clean up the mess and try to do it as discreet. I know that's not really a discreet situation, but we had to do our best and just make it work with whatever we had. I mean, the bride and groom, they did not even care. They did not even bat an eye, which was nice. There were no freak out moments. And luckily, the people that were sitting at that table, they were fine too, and they were even trying to help us.
Yeah.
So I think that's
all
one
hands
of
on
the,
deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of those situations where, you have to think quickly and just, figure it out along the way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it's nice that there's someone to take care of that, and the bride and groom aren't having to get on their hands and knees and pick all that stuff up. I mean,
Exactly.
Michelle, what's your favorite part of a wedding? Do you have any favorite parts? I really like the speeches, the best man speeches and maid of honor speeches. They can get really interesting.
We've had some good
ones. My favorite part would probably be the mother-son and father-daughter dances.
That's nice.
Okay, you had to get all teary-eyed on me.
Well, the reason I say that is because that is the most memorable part of my son's reception was when he and I did the mother-son dance.
So sweet. I'll look forward to that when our son gets married.
Yeah. We've got three
I'm
daughters.
tearing up.
I know.
We've got 3 daughters, so I've got quite a few of those ahead of me. And then, so don't name names when I ask this question.
Okay.
But have you ever married the same person more than once?
So no.
Okay.
We haven't, which is
all
a
success,
great thing. But I mean, on the other side of that, I'm not going to name names, but there have been quite a few clients along the way that maybe are not together anymore, sadly.
And so before I move on, do you have any other crazy stories? We'll get one more and we'll move on.
Oh, man. Okay, one more that's pretty memorable. We had one wedding years ago where they went over on their time by several hours. They wanted to just keep the party going.
So I can relate.
I know. I mean, truly, the bride and groom were just having the best time.
That's
and
great.
I got a nod from the father of the bride, and he was like, "We're gonna keep going."
It's costing me money. You
I
gotta
know.
wrap
I think
this
it was just one of those things where they had a lot of guests coming in from out of town, like flying far from far places, and so it was just they were on that adrenaline of just having so much fun and having a great time. I mean, not a super crazy story, but I think for us as the planner and the other vendors, we have to take into account those situations where we have to make sure the catering staff has to make sure that they have enough water or ice and, to account for those 2 extra hours. And, unfortunately and fortunately, I don't know, depending on how you look at it, we do have to charge extra for our hours and our time just because, we're working those extra hours and just making sure that.
And I'm watching the kids at home.
Exactly. So, I mean, we've just had a couple of those instances where
It goes over.
It goes over. But this one specifically, it was like 2 to 2.5 hours, if I remember correctly. And it was, they just wanted to.
So you're pushing probably midnight, 1 a.m.?
Midnight.
Yeah,
Midnight was the end time for that. And we didn't leave the venue until 1 a.m. because we still have to
clean up,
pack up and everything.
Okay, so we'll move on. Great stories. Again, trying to tie in real estate to this to a little bit. And you might not know the answer to this, but when you have bride and grooms come to you, do they normally have a house already, or are they kind of tying that in after they get married? Buy a house after they get married?
Yeah, it's kind of been a mix. And it weirdly enough, it does come up in conversation when we're first meeting the couple.
Okay.
And so I think because a lot of the times we do meet with them, one of our meetings, a decor meeting at their home so that we can pick up all the decor and items that we're going to be setting up. So, it ties into, how long have you guys lived here? This and that. I would probably say, though, it is a mixed bag as to who rents or who owns their home before having their wedding. Probably more oftentimes than not, when our weddings are taking place in the city, it's more rentals that we see.
Sure.
Which is great. And so my business partner / sister, she is a real estate agent, and there have been a handful of times where the bride and groom, we've developed such a relationship with them that they want to use her in real estate, which has been amazing.
Yeah, which
We're
we
so
encourage.
thankful. Yeah.
Of course, absolutely.
Do you think that the house prices, because they've gotten so high, that they are impacting weddings? With the cost of a wedding, it can get pretty high.
Yeah.
Do you think, making that decision because, a lot of newlyweds, they'll want to have a house to themselves or an apartment or whatever, renting or buying. Do you think weddings are getting delayed because they can't come out of it and afford a home?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely. I think especially in the last few years, that has been impacted. I mean, with our numbers alone of, maybe 5 years ago, my sister and I, we had at least 5 weddings each year, where 10 years ago, we each had like 15 weddings a year. So, I mean, things are slowing down in that sense.
Right.
Sure.
Because, I think for a number of factors, and especially I think the area too, where a lot of my weddings take place or where my brides and grooms live, it is a lot more expensive to live where they are and where they want to live. So it does make an impact on their wedding choices.
Yeah, I think it's important, that the budget might get squeezed a little bit. And I think it's even more important. That's why to give you a call and maybe you can talk through that and just make something work that can get the best of both worlds. They can get their home,
Absolutely.
and they can also have someone help them out.
Yeah.
During
Yeah,
the
do you
wedding.
ever have people that will want you to just like maybe plan the reception and
Yes. Yeah,
they do something
absolutely.
really simple for the wedding
Yes.
and then have the reception?
100%. We absolutely do that. I mean, truly, any wedding we'll make it work.
Yeah, it's customizable, I would say.
It is, yeah, for sure. Or the flip side, where we just do the ceremony and maybe help set up at the reception, but then we're not working the reception.
Okay, well, because I asked that because I have worked with couples that were planning to get married, but they were buying a house first, and then they
Right.
were going to see where their budget
Yeah,
was.
right.
Exactly.
And they talked
Exactly.
about maybe just doing a
sure.
reception, and so I was just
Yeah.
wondering if that would come into play for your
Definitely.
company.
We absolutely see that, and which is fine. I mean, totally fine.
Yeah,
Great
yeah.
options for couples around here.
Okay, so ready? Take off the wedding hat
Okay. All right.
and put on your boutique hat.
All right. Got it.
All right, so tell us a little bit about that. What's it
Yeah.
called? When did it start? And kind of why did you get into it?
Okay, so my women's boutique is called Styled by Sweetface.
I see what you did there. You added the Sweetface in.
Yes, it's kind of like our umbrella brand, I guess. And so I started it in the middle of the pandemic. It was like July 2020 because I, didn't have anything else
Yeah,
to
nothing
do, I
else going
guess. Nothing else going on. So why I started it though, I think being a mom, being in my later 30s now, I wanted affordable fashion that wasn't all, it's either one or the other what I was seeing 4 years ago. It
Style.
was either, style-wise, it was like crop tops and, which not everybody is going to be wearing that. And so I wanted a good in between. And I wanted to focus on women my age or around my age too, because we're not older yet. And a lot of us still feel like, oh yeah, we're still kind of cool and, or trying to anyway, And so,
That's why I let you buy my clothes so I can still feel cool.
Still feel cool. Yeah. And, and being a mom too, being a mom of 4 kids, it kind of takes a toll on me personally, my self-esteem. And so I feel like if I have a cute wardrobe with some really basic pieces, then I can at least put some outfits together and, I feel kind of good that day.
Yeah, a lot of times your sweatpants and sweatshirt, and you got kid stuff all over you.
Oh my gosh. Tell me about it.
Yeah. All right. So you talked a little bit about the clothing. Now, how would someone access your boutique? I mean, is there a storefront? Is it all online? Talk about that.
So no storefront. It's all online currently, but there are several times a year that I like to do a pop-up.
Okay. Talk about that. I mean, talk about what's a pop-up.
So a pop-up is where we find either an event or a location where I set up all my racks of clothes where people can actually see it and touch it and
try it on.
Try it on. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's a great way for us to get out there, get our name out there because there are a lot of women's boutiques actually in the Winchester area.
Yeah.
I've noticed. And so women love to shop. And so I think it's really helpful when I do those because they can actually, get a feel for what the clothes look like in person.
And so all the other times, everything's online.
Yes.
Do you find that, especially in this day and age, did you find that to be any more challenging versus having a storefront? I mean, do you think there would be advantages or disadvantages?
Yeah.
What do you think there? Because I mean, a lot of folks might be interested in getting into a business, whether it's clothing lines or something like that. That may just be better online versus having a storefront.
Yeah,
so what do you think
that's
there?
a great question. I think it's preference, but then it's also budget. I mean, budget is a huge factor. Where my little boutique, where it's not ideal to have a storefront at the moment. Now, is it in my goals and aspirations? I think so. So you really have to think about what is right for you and your business right now. And online, there are definitely disadvantages to that as well because the customers, they can't try on the clothes. So, there
Sure.
have been
we
times.
talked about that.
Yeah, where, they have to return it or exchange it or, I try to be helpful to my local customers and I'll meet them. I'll meet them in person so they can try on a sweater real quick just to see if it actually fits them and is what they envisioned, which I've done that several times and I don't mind doing that as long as, the schedule is there.
Yeah.
So I think it really depends on how you want to appeal yourself to the customer as well.
Any other challenges that you feel like you face with the online boutique?
Probably the changing styles in clothes.
Sure.
We've been open for almost 4 years now. And I can say that things have changed over 4 years alone. And that's not, I feel like it's gone by very quickly. So what I like to do, I like to pick more basic items so that it can last a couple seasons so that, the customer doesn't always feel like they have to be shopping unless they want to.
Sure. I think pricing, pricing is always a challenge, not just for, what you're doing, but also for us, when we're listing a home, pricing is always so important. You don't sometimes you don't want to price a house too high because it just doesn't get any eyes on it. You don't want to price it too low because then the seller's not getting, as much money as they potentially could. Now, I could argue against that they probably would because people would bid it up. But that's a hard sales pitch to give to a seller to understand that. It's hard to price something lower. But so you got to really hit that, that middle ground, if you will, and to drive demand to that property or to the close. And we've had a lot of challenges with the not just real estate market, but the market in general with inflation and, everybody, spending more money on groceries. They just don't have that additional extra income to be able to throw at, clothes or, to rental properties or houses. So I think that in my mind would be the challenge for me if I were running a boutique.
Definitely competitive pricing.
Because you have to.
Tough.
Yeah, you have to look at your competitors and find out where are they pricing stones. Now, granted, you're probably a different niche than some of the other competitors as far as clothing because there's tons of niches out there, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
But you have to make money, right? You have to still make money on it to be able to buy more inventory and pay for your time.
Exactly.
Right? If you're not making money at the end of the day, you're really just kind of giving the clothes away.
Right.
Exactly.
All right. So let's talk about how would someone reach you for your wedding business?
Yes. So online, we have a really great Instagram presence. So you can message us through Instagram.
What's that? Is that what's your handle?
It's my handle. It's Sweetface Events.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have a website?
We do. Sweetfaceevents.com.
Okay. Yeah. Go check out the website. You give her a call or send her an email. You can find all that information on the website, if I'm not mistaken. Okay.
Yes.
Good. Now your boutique. How would someone find you there?
Online also. I also have a nice Instagram presence, and our handle is Styled by Sweetface.
Okay.
And then online, my boutique is styledbysweetface.com.
Okay. Yep. Go there, check it out, send the emails, message her through social media, and she'll give you all the information you need. And what's for dinner?
I have to go grocery shopping.
Answer that.
I don't know. What do you want? What will you eat?
No, we'll talk about that later. I'm just kidding. All right, Michelle, anything else you want to add?
I can't think of anything. It was great hearing about all this information though. Yes.
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure to have my wife, Nicole. Thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yep. And thanks for tuning in to the Realty FC podcast. The key to success is knowledge. So please like, share, and subscribe, and catch you on the next episode of the Realty FC podcast.